What is up, Burn Your Boats fam? So, here we are. We are in the thick of the holiday season for 2019. It is December 17th, and it is Tuesday, and I am recording late as heck today, and I apologize for the late distribution of this. Better late than never, and this this isn't what we're here to talk about on the Too Easy Tuesday, but I'm going to give you a little sneak peek into That's What You Get Wednesdays. Tomorrow is to not let perfect be the enemy of good. So I'm not doing that today. That's the point. Is today, rather than allowing the lack of perfection to stop me from following through with bringing something to you guys, I'm bringing it, and I'm bringing it late. So, in the thoughts, or in the thought and in the mindset of the holiday season, I wanted to bring something special. I oftentimes I find myself taking for granted some of the things that I've learned, some of the lessons, and so I think what I really wanted to do was start reflecting on some of those basics, some of the real fundamental things that drive me and motivate me, and really like kind of like the guidelines that have helped bring me to where I'm at today and are propelling me forward. One of those is a story. I don't think that it's probably not real. It probably never happened. But it's a story that's used to relay a lot of meaning through metaphor and analogy, and within the story itself. And so I'm just gonna get into it. And so okay, here it is. There was a girl who had left home, and she was out in the world on her own as an adult, and was starting to experience a lot of obstacles and a lot of setbacks, and it seemed to just be mounting over time, and just one thing would go wrong, and then it would lead to another thing going wrong, and then another thing, and she was feeling very depressed and down, and her motivation was low. And she had left home, and she was really motivated. She was excited. You know, there was the energy behind being independent and pursuing an education and kind of making your way through the world and leaving your mark. And she wasn't getting the feeling that she was leaving her mark. She was feeling like the world was kind of having its way with her, and she was at its mercy. So she came home to her mother, who was there waiting for her, and with tears welled up in her eyes, and the saddest disposition, and just sad doesn't even describe it accurately, a almost beaten down sense of self, and that fire that was initially there dwindling, not out, but dwindling. She looks at her mom, and she confides in her, and she tells her that, I thought this was going to be different, and there's all of these things that are wrong, and I can't ever seem to get ahead of it. As soon as I feel like I solve a problem or I put out a fire, two more come up. And her mom responds not through words, but through action. She takes her daughter by the hand, and she walks her into the kitchen and has her sit down at the table. While she sits down, she takes 3 pots, she fills them up with water, and she puts them onto the stove. Into the pots of boiling water, she puts carrots into one, she puts an egg into another, and she puts ground up coffee beans into the third. She says nothing. She lets them boil for about 20 minutes without speaking to her daughter, just sitting there with her, being present with her. After 20 minutes, she asks her daughter to go over to the pots and tell her what she sees. So the daughter goes over to the pots and she looks and she says, "Oh, I see carrots, an egg, and coffee beans." And her mom says, "Okay, look closer." She pours it out. She feels the carrots and she says, "What do they feel like?" And her daughter says, "Oh, they're soft." So, okay. Crack open the egg. And what is that like? She cracks open the egg and she says, it's hard. It's hard boiled." She's like, "Okay." She pours the cup of coffee and she says, "Take a drink." So the daughter lifts up the cup of coffee, and as she lifts the cup up to her face, the aroma makes its way from the cup up through her nasal passages, and she gets a sense of bliss and happiness and calming comfort that comes from a cup of coffee for her. And she takes a sip and she feels she tastes the full body of the coffee against her taste buds and go down her throat in a nice soothing manner. And so she looks at her mom, with a little bit of a smile on her face, enjoying the sip of coffee, and she says, "I don't understand. Like, what does this mean?" And her mom says, what happened to all of these items, to the carrots, to the egg, and to the coffee grounds? And she said, "Oh, they were all put in boiling water." She says, "Yes, they were all subjected to the same adversity." And what happened to the carrots? The carrots went in hard. And after being beaten up by adversity, they ended up being soft and falling apart. The egg went in with a fragile exterior and a soft inside. And after being beaten up by adversity over and over and over again, in an onslaught for 20 minutes, it hardened. The inside hardened and became rigid. And then what happened to the coffee? Well, rather than becoming soft and falling apart, rather becoming rigid and stiff, it changed its environment around it, and it made it better for everything. It made the aroma better. It made the adversity better. It made itself better. So, which are you? The mother asked the daughter. And I think it's a really important story in the sense that it acknowledges the fact that adversity is going to happen. Hard times are going to happen. And there's a sense of agency. There's a sense of responsibility that exists for yourself, of yourself, in the situation, that you can change the circumstances that you're in. Sometimes it takes a perspective shift, but that's really to the point. So I came across some motivational self-help kind of stuff, and it was my problem with self-help and my hesitation to one, categorize myself even adjacent to that, but just my issue with it overall is that a lot of the times you'll have these nice pithy statements on these fun things that you read and you're like, "Oh, cool." Like I saw one and it was a bunch of matchsticks that were lit on fire in a row, and then one of them was pulled down, and so the fire wasn't able to catch that one, and because it wasn't able to catch that one, the rest of them were unlit and remained unharmed from the cascading event, right? So like the thought process being a bunch of bad stuff is happening because nobody's changing what they're doing, and so if you change what you're doing, then you stop that from happening. And it's okay, cool. That's awesome. I like it. The issue that I have with stuff like that and with self-help coaches and all that stuff is that there's not a lot of how. There's not a lot of practical, pragmatic steps and approaches, and that is where I like to draw myself and take myself apart from everybody else. Is that I am familiar with tools and resources and that actually can be used in order to help people get through to that you can actually use to overcome a lot of the mental obstacles that you have. And so I'm actually building a program for training now, so that come in the new year I can actually offer that, and I can provide that training. I can do one-on-ones with you. I can create seminars, and I can provide this training from a distance and in person, but real tangible steps for how to overcome a lot of the personal narrative that we may have created that actually stands in the way of us and everything that our life could be. And also identifying the parts of our personal narrative that exist that actually promote that, and to water and nurture those while finding a way to circumvent and to remove those aspects that are holding you back. And so that's the goal. That's why we're here. That's why I'm doing this. It's not to if it motivates you and it gets you excited and gets you pumped up to go out there and seize the day, carpe diem, hell yeah, go get it. By all means, I want that to be the case, but I don't want this to be just like a motivational Gary V style. I'm going to motivate you to go do it. There are too many practical skills that I know that I can give to you to just reside in the you can do it, pick yourself up by the bootstraps. So it sounds great, but how? Like, how do I grab the bootstrap? What way do I tie the knot? And so that's what I want to do. And I have the ability, I have the skills. I know that I've taught several of them to you throughout our time together so far. And if you're new to the show, then please go on back and check out some of the previous Too Easy Tuesdays, and That's What You Get Wednesdays. There's a lot of practical advice in there, and tools and skills. And so I'm going to be putting a lot of focus into that in the coming year. And because that's what I want. I want to make a change in people's lives. And I want those people to be able to make change in other people's lives and for it to cascade out. I want a network of people that are choosing themselves, and through choosing themselves they are benefiting their families and their communities, and it cascades out. So that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm going to be doing, and I look forward to bringing you along in the journey with me. Thank you so much for coming back every week for every episode. If you continue to do that, I will continue to show up, and I will be here, and we can do this thing together. Thank you so much. I love you, and I will see you here tomorrow for That's What You Get Wednesdays.